G'day fellow flight simmers and random YouTubers. Right, today I've got me chai tea. I'm ready to rock and roll. Now I said in my previous stream that I was going to do probably Brisbane and talk about parallel runways. But I thought about it and I thought, well, I did a YouTube video on Class D ops. And I wasn't too happy. I thought I could have done better in sort of clarifying a few things. So here I am on Moorabbin, and I'm going to talk about, and hopefully what I talked about Moorabbin, about Class D, by putting it into practice, it sort of solidifies, if that's the right word, about how to handle Class D ops. Now, as you can see here, I'll try to explain what all this means. Now, the first thing, you as a controller, what's your responsibilities? Well, first of all, you need to know your airspace. And when you open up in VATSIS Moorabbin, you'll see this circle here, and you just see a few of these funny symbols. You've got to know what they really mean as a controller. Now, the first thing you should know, and basically to put this in perspective, the best thing to do is to download the VTC chart, which is so you can see this ring here, and you've got D surface to 2000. So, and that's what this is. So you as and this is, by the way, Moorabbin is called a Metro Class Class D. You can see it up there. Formerly, they used to be Class G airspace back in the day, but now they're called Metros. So you're basically responsible for 3 nautical miles, which is that ring there, and 2,500 feet. Every aircraft in there, you're totally responsible for. Okay, so that's the first thing you've got to know. The second thing you've got to know as a tower controller in a Metro or a Class D airspace is that you don't provide any separation between VFR aircraft. You don't provide any separation whatsoever. All you're meant to do is you provide traffic information. And I'll go into the phraseology later on. So basically, ATC really only controls the runway ops, basically with landing and takeoff clearances. Okay, that's all that Moorabbin does. There is no separation for VFR aircraft. Okay, so now, actually, have I actually logged on? Oh. Okay, you can see up here, this is the frequency 118.1. Okay, but that's in VATSIM. Now, VATSIM tries to emulate real-world ops as much as possible. But if you want to really know in the real world, you open up this FLC, what they call FAC Moorabbin, and I'll show you where you get that. You basically go to the aeronautical information page, and that's the thing up there, Air Service Australia. Look up Air Service, AIP. I'll put and you agree to that, and you go into, well, actually, having said that, maybe I can see it here. Okay, on the chart, you'll see there's tower 118.1 and 123.0. So you think, well, what frequency do I use? Now, under VATSIS, it's only one frequency, is 118.1. However, in the real world, you've got 118.1 is really operated for ops in the east, and that 123.0 that you saw, in the chart, you see 123, that's ops reserved for operations to the west. So if you're coming in from the west, basically you call up the 123. If you're coming in from the east, you call up 118.1. So that's the sort of a difference between VATSIS, even though VATSIS or VATSIM tries to replicate real world procedures. So that's something that you've got to keep in the back of your mind. Yeah, guess what? The chai tea's getting cold. So, okay, so that's the first thing. Now, what are the responsibilities for ATC? Well, first of all, ATC is responsible for runway separation standards. So in theory, that basically you can. Before I go on, because I've got two screens, I keep this map because you as a ground controller, you want to see what's on the ground, of course. And there's your runways. You can see runway 17 right, 17 left, 35 right, 35 left, and I'm not sure what these runways, and so that's why I don't operate in Moorabbin, because I don't even know what bloody runways these are. Anyhow, but they're the main two ones, and I can look it up. Well, hang on. Where would I find that information? That's what my instructor always says to me. There you go, 3-1 left and 3-1 right. So always know where to look for it. So yeah, so going back, I'm jumping all around the place. Okay, you go to the aeronauticals and you go to the course en route SUP. Okay, 9th of September. You click on that. Okay, what's happening? Okay, let's stop this. Okay, you go on right SUP and you scroll down here, and I know that you've got the TMA from Melbourne, but there are certain things that doesn't help or isn't indicated on the TMA. And you go down to Melbourne and you see Moorabbin and you download that. And you see this. Now this is a whole heap of information. You can read this at your leisure. But really, you as a pilot and air traffic controller sort of be aware of this. This is Melbourne Centre, 135.7. This basically tells you the tower's operation hours. So once again, and you can see here, Melbourne Tower provides ATS within Class D surface to 200, which is what we saw in the chart. And then outside that, it becomes Class G aircraft, Class G airspace. Now, of course, in the VATSIM environment, it's just when the tower's not manned, well, it's a Class G. So that's something you've got to remember in the... yeah, I got the T, yeah, Basinger Bill. I don't know how you say that. Yes, I do have my chai tea, and it's getting bloody cold again. Piss bloody wee. It tastes like horse's piss, really. Not that I have ever tasted. Not that I've ever tasted horse's piss, but I'll tell you, when tea gets cold, it's not very pleasant. Yeah, nor is coffee actually, but coffee's a little bit more sort of supportable. You know, you can sort of deal with cold coffee, but cold tea, I'm not sure. Anyhow, I got a cold. I got this flashing thing. What the hell? Hello, go ahead, ground. And I'm getting nothing. Hang on. Realtek Gaming, maybe. I think that's probably... Melbourne ground is on. Okay, that's great. Oh well, makes my job easy. Who's better, Lana Rhodes or Abella Danger? I have no idea what you're talking about. Please explain. as a famous politician once said. Please explain. She's irritable, I'll tell you. Heaven knows how she... we won't talk about that. Please explain. Anyhow, who's better, Lana Rhodes or a Bella Danger? That's over my head. I'm normally fairly witty, but this one's over... I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, so we got somebody on ground. They can deal with whoever's on ground. Now, what was I talking about? I have no idea. I've lost the plot. Yeah, tea. Yeah. Yeah, that's... God. Bloody hell. Who invented tea anyhow, for Christ's sake? Anyhow. So that's, we're talking about towers and ops. You know, you got 118.1 for ops east and 123.0 for ops west. And we're talking about basically ATC responsibilities. So ATC is responsible for runway separation standard, that's right. And basically, stop saying basically, there are certain separation standards where you allow another aircraft to land while you've got another aircraft on the runway. So be aware of that when those times do arise. But one of the main things, and if you ever listen to live ATC, whether it's Jandicott or wherever, you see instructions and regarding traffic information to basically regulate traffic. You know, like, for example, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Papa Warrior on final runway 17, right, you're number 2 to that aircraft, a clear visual approach. Words to that effect. So that's sort of... And then also, because tower controls up to 2,500 feet and also 3 nautical miles, in the real world, you see these guys constantly on their binoculars and looking. So we're obviously not in that situation. That's why we've got this. So we're pretending to look out the field and we think, how the hell is this bloody dude coming in? Oh, that's another thing. Don't forget, because it's a Class D airspace, you need a clearance to enter this. You can do whatever you want below the steps, and if you have a look at your chart, see, if you're flying at 1,500, you can do anything you want because you're in uncontrolled airspace. Now, as soon as if you're flying at 2,500 and you go up to Cerberus or Brighton, you straight away you're starting to hit the controlled airspace. If you're going 1,500, well, it's not a problem. It's only when you get up to here, even up to here, you see. That's why the 2,000 step was created, because if 1,500, you can stay and you don't have to talk to departures or anybody like that, Melbourne departures. So, but if I want to come in from this way and I want to go in, and it doesn't matter if VFR, IFR, well, obviously IFR, but if you're VFR, you cannot go anywhere near there. You need to get a clearance to come into. So this is why you got these guys up in the town. They're constantly looking. Okay, so they're the responsibilities for ATC. Now, what's the pilot responsibilities? Well, and I've seen, with the beautiful advent of FS 2020, I've got to show you something. It's a classic. The pilot responsibility, and you have a look at videos, you know, of people, I know, Stefan Drury and whoever else, they're, you know, people taking off in Class D airspace, or they're constantly looking, you know, like they're always looking outside the aircraft, because it is your responsibility to maintain separation. ATC will only give you traffic information, but you're responsible for your own separation. And also, stop saying basically, ATC will tell you the location of the aircraft, say, for example, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Papa Warrior, your 12 o'clock at 1,500, report sighting. And so you've got to be able to advise ATC. If you can't see him, you've got to tell ATC straight away, because he's waiting for you to sight that aircraft, so he knows now that you can maintain separation with him. Because if you can't, you need to tell him unable, or I haven't got him in sight, or as soon as you see him, Radham Tower, have the traffic in sight. Okay, so that's basically, I still don't know what a Bella danger is, Moody.
Bravo Tower and Cessna November Alpha Romeo, short of 3-1 right on Bravo, ready for departure circuit.
Who the hell is this clown? He didn't even give me a start clearance. Sorry, station calling Moorabbin Tower. Say again your call sign?
November Alpha Romeo.
I tell you, this guy is going to kill me. November Alpha Romeo. November Alpha Romeo, runway 1, correction, stand by. What was the bloody runway again? 3-1. November Alpha Romeo, runway 3-1 right, cliff takeoff.
Cliff for takeoff 3-1 right, November Alpha Romeo.
Just when I wanted to talk about something. Okay. All right. Now, I should do the ATIS as well. Anyhow, I thought in my stupidity no one was going to log on. Well, what can you say? Somebody logged on. I thought, who in the hell's going to fly bloody Moorabbin? Yeah, think again. All right. So you need a clearance to operate in the control zone. So now also the towers obviously you need obviously a clearance for takeoff. You obviously need a clearance for instruction to join the circuit, and also you need a clearance to transit the circuit area as well. So there are also other clearances that you are responsible for. I wish I know. You know how you see some videos, some streamers, you got chat and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to do that. I want like a chat window around here somewhere. Now, okay, so first of all, what November Alpha Romeo, if you come to this and you have a look here, and like I said, there's a whole lot of information here. See how it says here, local traffic regs, ground procedures, start approval required for circuit area. So Daniel, you should have called me for start approval, mate.
Bravo Tower, Cessna November Alpha Romeo, right downwind 3-1 right, touch and go.
November Alpha Romeo, runway 3-1 right, clear touch and go.
Clear touch and go 3-1 right, November Alpha Romeo.
So now he's indicating 800. Now he should have called me because quite clearly you can see, you should be calling up as a for circuits. You should be calling up a start approval. And how would you say that? Well, basically you'd say Moorabbin Tower, Cessna 172, Alpha, or in this case, I don't know, he's a Cessna 172, November Alpha Romeo. Cessna 172, November Alpha Romeo received Golf, or whatever, or India, request start for circuits. That's what he should have said. Okay, so anybody out there who wants to do circuits in the Moorabbin area, you have to ask for a start approval. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, before I... No, there is no... Oh, Moorabbin. What the hell? Okay, normally this comes in on its own, so obviously... what is the frequency? What is the ATIS frequency? Anybody, ATS. 120.9. Okay, 120.9. Okay, you have to do it all Okay, I can't be stuffed. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, yeah, so young Daniel, he should have called me for a start clearance. Okay, what are the other situation where you need a start clearance? Well, like we had a look down here. If you're departing for AWK means aerial work in the Melbourne TMA, in other words, in the Melbourne TMA, and you want to do aerial work, so this is a Melbourne TMA, if you want to do any aerial work...
Bravo Tower, Cessna November Alpha Romeo, right down, wind 31 right, touch and go.
November Alpha Romeo, runway 31 right, clear, touch and go.
Clear, touch and go, 31 right, November Alpha Romeo.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, so that's the first. So you've got to be aware when the start clearances. You have to give start clearances, and like I said, if you're landing at Melbourne, for example, mind you though, it's an expensive endeavour, as Stephen Drury did, if his aircraft landing at Melbourne, because Melbourne landing fees are horrendous. So, but he did it, cost him thousands of dollars. So you need to start clear, and also if you're departing above 2,000 feet for landing at Essendon. Now most people, they use Essendon for practice the ILS at 2.6, I think, and then they go somewhere else. So, and you've got to book that up, by the way. So these are the situations where you need. So for example, if you want to land at Melbourne, you'd say Brabham Tower Alpha Bravo. Brabham Tower Alpha Bravo Charlie Cessna 172 received golf request starts for Melbourne, or request starts for Essendon, so they know you're landing at Essendon, landing at Melbourne, you know. So they will give you a start clearance, and basically sorry, I'm being distracted. Yeah, so yeah, and they will give you the start approved, you know, Alpha Bravo Charlie, start approved. So it's easy as that. Now, what I was going to say is, if you're, there are certain procedures that you as a pilot need to adhere to if you're departing Moorabbin, and especially with MSFS these days, the way you depart the circuit and the way you enter the circuit. So, and the easiest way. Oh, and by the way, let me talk about these. And I think I've mentioned this before, but these are basically VFR reporting points, and these, and you can see down here. You see, you've got Carrum. If you're coming in from the south, you've got Carrum, which is CARR. See how that? And that obviously matches up with down here. That's Carrum. So you've got to know these. If you're controlling at Moorabbin, you have to know this. So you have to know this is the academy. This is the GMH building. This is Carrum. This is Cerberus. Thank you, Aviation Chris, on this. He told me all about Cerberus and what it was all about. This is Brighton, the Brighton Jetty, which is very noticeable. So with MSFS, you can.
Bravo Tower, Cessna November Alpha Romeo, right downwind 31 right for a touch and go, then an upwind departure.
November Alpha Romeo, runway 31 right, clear, touch and go.
Clear, touch and go, 31 right, November Alpha Romeo.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Good to get a beer. Yeah, well, I'm stuck with this crappy tea. Anyhow, that's another story. My wife won't let me drink on Sunday. Whatever you do, guys, don't get married. Tell you, God, I had a head full of hair and no white hair, and now, well, it's a very different story now. Now, anyhow, I was watching my favourite YouTuber the other day, And I have had a bit of fun here, so don't take this too serious. I'm not trying to offend it. If you knew me as a person, I like to have a bit of a laugh, bit of a joke, and then there's a serious side of me, okay? So I was watching my favourite YouTuber, and one can only guess who that is. Yes, you guessed it. And he did this. Oh, it was wonderful. And I thought to myself, isn't that great? You know, you're piloting an Airbus 320 and you get out the bugle. And I thought that was fantastic. I thought, gee, this guy's good. No, it was great. Okay, so let's get back to some seriousness here. Too much of this frivolity is no good. Okay, so what do we say about aircraft, inbound aircraft? Okay, so as you saw, you've got certain inbound points or certain points that you must track. And if you're coming from the south, it's Carrum. If you're coming from the west, you have to follow this VFR route. And you normally report there, Brighton, but there's your tracking points, Cerberus. Or you can come in via Bay West if you want. But these are all VFR reporting points.
Rabbit Tower, Cessna November Alpha Romeo, passing 300 for an upwind departure.
November Alpha Romeo, go ahead.
We'll be departing on an upwind link.
November Alpha Romeo, sorry, say again?
We are departing the circuit area on an upwind link.
Yeah, I know it's an upwind link. That's another thing I'll talk to you guys about. Yeah, November Alpha Romeo, just advise your intentions. Whereabouts what are your intentions?
We're going to be departing on an upwind leg, maintaining 1,500, and then we're going to, once we clear the runway 31 left, we'll head over to Point Cook.
November Alpha Romeo, just first of all, I'd like to advise you, so you've got a lot of background noise, so if you'd like to keep the background noise down to a dull roar, that would be appreciated. And where do you intend to go to from your upwind departure?
Sorry about the background noise. We're departing upwind, then we're going to head across to Point Cook.
November Alpha Romeo, you're flogging a dead horse. Whoever you got in the background, could you just tell them to be quiet for about 2.5 seconds while we establish where you're going? I don't know why these people do it. Oh, okay. And November Alpha Romeo, just confirm, are you maintaining 1,500? November Alpha Romeo, stand by. Okay. November Alpha Romeo, roger, maintain 1,500. Okay, now, what did...
Rabbit Tower, Lima Sierra, prepare for start the circuit, no booking.
Station call, just confirm call sign Lima Sierra Papa.
Affirm, Lima Sierra, Papa.
And intention, sir?
Requesting startup for circuits.
Lima Sierra Papa, your start approved.
Start approved, Lima Sierra, Papa.
Okay, now, guys watching. First of all, he didn't need to call me. And the reason is if you're a VFR aircraft and you're exiting the control zone and you're going to Class G airspace, you don't need to tell the aircraft, or you don't need to tell Tower. What you need to do, from his perspective, he needs to you're a VFR aircraft, 1,500, that means you're below the the steps here. You're not going into any controlled airspace. So he's flying along there and he's going to go over to Point Cook, which is over here. So he doesn't need to contact me. What he needs to do is he needs to transfer to centre. And I'll tell you why. Because if he needs to go along here, first he needs to ask him if Point Ormond is active, because it's a danger zone, and I'll guarantee he'll be flying through there. But also he needs to maintain a listening watch on Melbourne Centre, which is 132. And remember I showed you the FAC here, and you've got this, see this Melbourne Centre? 135 decimal centre. He needs to, or in our, if you're on VATSIM, you have to monitor Snowy, okay? So that's what he did wrong. So I gave him instructions just to make him feel nice, good, but you don't really need to. The onus is on him to say, right, at 3 nautical miles, I'll change over 13, whatever Snowy's is. You can't believe it, 124, isn't it? 0, Snowy? God, I've done it enough times you'd think I'd know by now. So that's really what he needs to do if you're going into Class G. Now, let's say he was an IFR aircraft and he wants to go, well, what would happen there? And he needs to basically contact, if he's going into controlled airspace, if he's an IFR aircraft, he needs to contact centre, because even it's Class G airspace, centre has a responsibility to him to provide any traffic, because he's an IFR aircraft. In other words, even though it's a perfect day, but because he's filed IFR, he's saying to you, he says, I want you to look out and provide separation for me, because I am IFR, I can't see anything. Even though it might be a beautiful, beautiful day, but he's filed IFR. So that's what you need to understand, okay? VFR, I don't have any responsibilities to him anymore. He can do what he wants. But like I said, I told him maintain 1,500, which is really, I don't need to do that. But anyhow, I didn't need to talk to him because he's now going into uncontrolled airspace. Okay, so let's talk about inbound people arriving from wherever. Okay, first thing is you as a pilot should be entering. Now, we talked about the control zone being 1,000 up to 2,500 feet, and you need clearance to enter. Okay, so let's say, for example, you've got an aircraft coming along this VFR route and he wants to land at Moorabbin. What would be his call to tower? What's the right phraseology? Well, the phraseology would be something similar to something like this. It would be Moorabbin Tower, Cessna 172, Alpha Bravo Charlie.
Tower, Lima, Sierra Papaya. Can you just confirm the ATIS is up and running? I can't seem to get hold of it.
Lima Bravo, negative, sir. No ATIS. I wasn't anticipating people coming online because, well, yeah, so my bad. Just Moorabbin, what was his call sign?
Leave us Sierra Papaya.
I should write this down. Lima Sierra Papa. Really? Here am I trying to educate people. They want to come and... Don't get me wrong. It's good that people... Lima Sierra Papa. Okay. We're talking about inbound aircraft. Okay, so you've got a guy at Brighton and he calls you. What would be the phraseology? Like I said, it would be Moorabbin Tower, Cessna 172, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Brighton, 1,500, received whatever the ATIS code is, received Golf, inbound. And that would be your call. and he would say something like, Lima Sierra Papa, Alpha Bravo Charlie, maintain 1,500, say report Cerberus. And then you'd be coming in that way. And let's say it might be runway 17 right, or 17 left and right would be the actives. And he would say, Lima Sierra Moorabbin Tower, Alpha Bravo Charlie Cerberus. And he would say, Alpha Bravo Charlie, enter left downwind, or sorry, what do we got? Runway 17. So it'd be enter long base runway 17 right, or enter downwind 17 right, or whatever. Or he might even get you to, depending on the traffic, this is where there's nothing set in stone. You've got to use your sort of, not necessarily imagination. He might want to, because there are a few aircraft in the circuit, he may want to get you overhead. He would say, maintain 1,500 or 2,000, report overhead. If I was a control, I'd say, maintain 1,500, report overhead. That means you as the pilot would track overhead, and then you would come in this way. So you'd come in that way and you'd go overhead, and I'm sort of exaggerating the circuit here, but that way. Or he may get you to join long base. So you need to track this way and then come in this way and 17 right, land at 17 right. He may get you to 17 left, and so overhead. So you as a controller afforded all this flexibility, but you've just be able to sequence and tell one aircraft about the other aircraft. Oh God, I'm dreading this. I've got to have another sip of tea. Ugh. Yeah, or from Carrum as well, yeah. So if you're from Carrum, there was a great, back in the day, they used to make, there was some publications, when they were what they were called Gap Airport, they actually showed you diagrams of how actually to join the circuits and which way you had to go to join the circuits. I'm trying to think of, actually I might, just bear with me, I might have a copy somewhere in the, just bear with me, Melbourne, I'm just looking through all the, oh, here we go, I think I found, oh my God, wow. Oh, here we go, look at this. Oh, this is brilliant. How in the hell did I have this? All right, so you can see the way that you join the circuit. So let's say, for example, you're coming from Academy. Now this is, you've got to realise this diagram is not as per north. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, see how this 3.5 is not quite right, and 1.7 is not quite right. See, Academy's out to the, if you look at here, under my VATSIS, Academy's up here. So you got to, the diagram is not really 100%. Oops, sorry. So if you're coming from Academy, I'm just trying to work out how to make it, I can't tilt it over. See, look, see now this, see how north is pointing downward? Why would you want to do a diagram with north pointing downward? You'd think it'd be this way, wouldn't you? So there's north, that way. So if you're coming from Academy, which is, now I can't read upside down, but anyhow, it's ridiculous how they've done it. So where's Academy? Where's Academy? Oh my God, now this is getting too hard. Okay, so this is the Academy. So you're coming from Academy, and this is, you're tracking, oh, I'm getting confused. Anyhow, I don't know. But anyhow, I can, anybody who wants a copy, I'll probably send you via an email, whatever, whichever way, Google Docs or something. But there are ways basically to track and to join the whatever whatever position ATC. So like I said, they may, from Academy you come in and you're tracking downwind runway 35. So it's not that hard, I guess, but you just got to use your common sense. You know, he may say join base runway 35 or 31 left, you know, so you come in this way and you just got to be fully observant or fully knowledgeable in the way that the runways run and how Moorabbin is situated. How you going, Will? Good to see you. So, okay, so that's basically inbound aircraft. So, and once again, so you as a controller have to know all these, but, you know, like I said. Okay, now, departures. Now, quite rightly, young Daniel, okay, the first thing you've got to know that when you depart into Class G airspace, and quite rightly he said to me, he was telling me something I already knew, right? Okay, but that's all right, that's fine. The first thing you as a pilot, when you depart wherever, and I'll actually bring this over, and I'm just trying to, I'll just make it a little bit more. So let's say, for example, it's runway, and this is orientated via north upwards, okay? You can see, let's say the runways are 35 left and right. And I want to go and land at Essendon, which is just up here somewhere, you know, like it tells you. Essendon is just up here. So I want to take off and I want to go and I want to land at Essendon. Okay, so the first thing is, and it's in the FAC, for you, when you depart into Class G airspace, you must depart the control zone, right, on an extended leg of the circuit. Now, because you're going north, the extended leg would be the upwind leg. So you depart, and if you can imagine this, so you've departed and the upward leg, because you want to go north, so you basically, you depart, just go straight ahead. Now, if you want to go south, and for example, you want to go down here and, I don't know, look at your Ringer Yacht Club Marina, have a look at that, see what that's like, and see if my 35 million dot is moored down there. Okay, it's not 35 million, it's only 3.5 million. Okay, I like to exaggerate. But if it's moored down there, you might, what you would do is you depart, let's say, runway 35 right, and you turn upwind, or you go upwind, you turn crosswind, you turn downwind, and then you depart on the downwind leg, and you go down and you go and look at my $3.5 million yacht down at Uringa, wherever it was. Where was it? Uringa. Yeah, so that's what you do. Now, not only do you depart the control zone not only do you depart the control zone on the extended leg, but you climb to 2,000 feet. Okay, that's also another thing. You've climbed to 2,000 feet. Always being aware that when you go south, of course, you're going away from the Class C steps. You can see these are all the Class Cs. And now if I bring up my maps, can I see the... There we go. We'll get rid of them. No use having vectoring altitude here because I'm Moorabbin Tower. But what I am interested in... G'day, on Essendon Tower Line, information. Oh, fantastic. So if you're departing at 2,000 feet, you're still under the Class C airspace. You can see it's 2,500. So, and then if you depart down to the south, well, that's all 4,000. See down here, 4,500. So you can depart in 2,000 feet and you can fly at 2,000 feet. You don't have to fly VFO. You don't have to fly at 2,500. You can fly at 2,000. It doesn't really. It's only once you start getting above the 3,000 feet, you have to be the 3,000. You have to fly at that odd plus 500 or even plus 500. But anything under 3,000, you can fly whatever, 2,000, 1,000, 1,500. So, yeah, so you can, that's another thing. And also, at...
Tower Lima Ship, just requesting an update on the Moorabbin ATIS.
Shit. Really? Lima Sierra Papa, stand by one. What's the ATIS? Let's have a look at the ATIS. Lima Sierra Papa. I never knew there was one. Hang on. If you had a 3-night, know for sure you wouldn't be drinking chai tea, mate. Yeah, Daniel, sorry, mate. Yeah, g'day, how are you? It's good to join the stream. Yeah, just, there wasn't a need for you to tell me you were departing upwind and all that. I knew that. But there is an onus on you to not contact, keep saying contact. You monitor the, well, if Snowy was online, but in the real world, it's 1357, which is Melbourne Centre, because Centre, even though it doesn't provide you, it provides you with a traffic information service, okay? It doesn't necessarily control you. You just go, you need to be, sorry, I'll say that again. You need to be listening watch on Snowy in case there's IFR aircraft in the area, and you don't need to communicate with them. You just need to have a listening watch, okay? So that's the thing. So there was no need for you to contact me upwind. I knew that you have to depart, just I needed to know where you were going, what you were doing, okay? And mind you though, those people in the background, really, it's not a good idea to go flying and you've got kids screaming, your mum telling you you've got to do your homework, your grandfather says he's wet his pants, your cat screaming on the top of a voice and a bloody, you don't need that, mate, and I don't need it. So, Daniel, next time, find a quiet room, I don't know, even rent one, I don't know, do whatever you need to do, because it becomes a bit, it's hard to hear you when you've got all these things happening in the background. And so, yeah. So just a word of advice. Now, Jason, yes, 3.5 million, I wish. Mind you though, I wouldn't have it down here. Yoringa. Melbourne's, by the way, all you people live in Melbourne, you guys Melbourne was voted the most livable city, but guess what? You've just attained a world record as of today. And you know what that is? The most locked down city, not in Australia, not in the Southern Hemisphere, in the world. Congratulations, Melbourne. And we all love Daniel Andrews, don't we? But anyhow, I'm not sure if we should be bringing politics into this. This is an instructional video. Well, hopefully it's an instructional video. Yeah, so unfortunately, I love Melbourne, don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic city, but the lockdowns is just killing it. Surely there's a better way. Anyhow, I digress. So, now, what about an IFR aircraft? And you want to, because as could be Melbourne weather, you know what it's like, can be really bad. Okay. Melbourne, if you're an IFR aircraft, and I think you can, if you look at this IFC, let me have a look. Oh, here, by the way, this is circuit procedures, yeah. Oh, and also, if this is something I forgot, once you get your joining instruction, the onus is on you as a pilot to descend to 1,000, of course. I don't know if I know that. It's obvious, really, because the circuit altitude 1,000. So here you might be 1,500, but then you need to descend into circuit altitude, of course. So, I mean, I don't know if it's, I should have said that, but it remains, it's quite obvious, isn't it, really? Yeah, IFR aircraft. Okay, if you're an IFR aircraft, what do we do? Okay, so, now, I think I saw something here. Okay. Now, if you're VFR at night, let's go, VFR flights by day. Clearance in Class C airspace is not available for Moorabbin Tower. Contact Melbourne Centre. In our case, if you're on VATSIM, it'll be, you'll be on 135, whatever Snowy is, 124 in Class G airspace for clearance. Okay, so that's if you're if VFR flights by day and you want to go into Class C. Okay, now if you're at night time, Moorabbin Tower will provide airway only for flights planned in Class C airspace north of and including the line Samig, Moorabbin, Harrow, which, okay, what do we do there? We go to Sky Vector. And this, you can understand why this hobby is a real... So anything north of that. See, I was prepared for this. So it said Samig, okay, north of and including the line Samig, Moorabbin, Harrow. So Samig, now I'm not sure where Harrow is. I think it's, anybody see it? But anyhow, north of that line, basically, it's, so that's, so you've got to understand that as well. Now, IFI flights south of the line, Samig, Moorabbin, Harrow, Moorabbin Tower will provide a transponder code. Remain in Class G airspace, contact Melbourne Centre frequency, 3 nautical miles for airways clearance, okay? So that's and then IFR flights north of, including the light Samig, blah, 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 Moorabbin Tower will provide airways clearance, okay? So that's the situation with IFR. And then when you've been given the clearance to take off, Moorabbin Tower will tell you, and you can have a look at videos of, I don't know, I guess Stefan, he's done several flights. As soon as they'll say Alpha Bravo Charlie passing 2,500 contact departures on 132.0, whatever departures are, whatever the approach or departures frequency are, because you're going to be, he needs to identify you because now you're under his control. Okay, so that's something that you've got to bear in mind. You're an IFR aircraft and you're going into his airspace, and you might be flying, say, from Melbourne up to Ballarat or Moorabbin up to Ballarat, and you might want to go across to, you want to overfly Melbourne at 6,000. I would imagine that would be you don't want to be flying through Melbourne at airspace at 2,500 or 4,000, because you're going to block off all that airspace and you're going to close down all of Melbourne basically, because you'll stop you stop the auto release function, because as you guys know, auto release is at 5,000. So you can't be, that's why you always see aircraft overflying at 6,000 or whatever the auto release altitude is at 1,000. So I think at most places around most big capital cities, it's 5,000 is the auto release height. So you add 1,000. So you want to overfly Melbourne at 6,000, and you go up to Ballarat, up to the north there. Okay, so yeah, I know, Chris. Yeah, a lot don't respect the lockdown. Now I know I'm not necessarily a fan of Gladys, and you know what she did was wrong, and she had to resign, and that's fair enough. But she was a very capable leader, and I reckon she was very capable, except for the Ruby Princess. The Ruby Princess was a complete stuff-up. Who knows what happened there? But I think basically localised shutdown. Now, over in WA, we get, and if people are familiar with Perth, you've got north of the river, you know, and that goes about 50 kilometres out, and south of the river another 50. So if there's somebody, there's a breakout in north of the river, you know, I don't know, I'll pick an area, Mount Lawley or whatever, I don't know. You know, the whole state gets, not the whole state, the whole metro gets locked down. And this happened about 6 or 7 months ago. Why would you hold lockdown? And there's a place right down the south called Rockingham, and there's about 40 kilometres from there, there's another place where the lockdown. Why wouldn't you lock down that area, the localised area, and manage that, and then not, with all these people down at Rockingham, which is 50, 60 kilometres away, all the small businesses down there, lock them down and punish them. I just don't think that's fair. That's just ridiculous. But anyhow, that's if you guys don't know what happened in the state politics over in West Australia, there was a Liberal Party. Well, now they've only got 2 seats in Parliament because Mark McGowan cleverly used COVID to his political advantage. He'll say otherwise, and of course, being a politician, of course, he'll say, we did it to keep everyone safe. Yeah, right, sure. And some poor fish and chip owner on, earning $1,000 a week, if you're lucky, Mark McGowan's on $400,000 a year. Yeah, it's all right for him to lock down the whole of metro area. He's going to still get paid. But what about the poor fish and chip owner, 60 kilometres away? He's got to pay for the lockdown, does he? Yeah, but don't get me started. And guess what? This tea, I'm going to throw it out the bloody window. It's shocking. No, I'm going to have one more sip. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to have one more sip. And now, so hopefully with IFR aircraft, once again, if you can understand, all you're worried about, you as a Moorabbin, just give him the clearance to take off. He'll give the clearance. It'll be, let's say, for example, you want to practice the ILS over at, he'll give the clearance, and he'll give you a score code. He'll give the clearance to track and I think I showed you here, he'll say something like, Alpha Bravo Charlie, you cleared the Samig Temple route, score 4615. And that's basically his clearance. And then you will score 4615. He'll take off, and he'll say, Moorabbin Tower would say, Alpha Bravo Charlie, passing 2,500, contact departures. And then you passing 2,500, you contact departure, and you'll say, Melbourne departures, Alpha Bravo Charlie, passing 2,500 on climb to 6,000, let's say, if that's because you're going west, you say 6,000, and he'll say Alpha Bravo Charlie, identified. That's all he'll say. And then, of course, after that, he'll get the approach controller will give you vectors to get you onto the ILS over in Avalon, which is down here somewhere. No, that's Point Cook. Anyhow, Avalon, I don't know. Avalon's over there this way. So, yeah, so that's really how you... Okay, what is auto-release? Okay, thanks for asking, Jack. See, this is things I... Okay, so auto-release function. Most of the major, if not, no, all the major capital cities, i.e. Melbourne, Perth International, Melbourne International, Brisbane International, the first thing you do when you call up let's say the tower controller, let's use Melbourne for an example. He'll say, and the pilot has flight planned for, say, from Melbourne to Sydney, okay? And he wants a clearance. He'll call you up for clearance. Now, the clearance will be something, and the tower controller will say something like this. He'll say, velocity 124, you're cleared to Sydney via Docell planned route. Via the SID, climb to 5,000, runway 16, Docell 1 departure, squawk 3615. And departures on 132.0. So that would be the clearance. And in the clearance, you notice I said via the SID, climb to 5,000. Okay. Now, in real life, and in VATSIM as well, the tower really doesn't own any airspace. In those big, unlike here where I control up to 2,500 feet, as a tower control, I'm responsible for anything that's on the runways, on the taxiways, and up to 2,500 feet. I'm responsible for that. But in the major capital cities, once the aircraft takes off, I'm not responsible anymore for that aircraft. I'm only responsible as Melbourne Tower of what's on the ground, on the runways actually, not even on the ground in the manoeuvring area, because that's Melbourne ground. So I'm only, but as a way of maintaining efficiency, because can you imagine if I wasn't given this auto release, it's what they call, it's an airspace release to the tower operator to control up to 5,000 feet. That's what it is. And the reason why that is done is so it provides an orderly air flow from the tower controller to the approach controller. So otherwise, if you didn't own the airspace above the runway up to 5,000, you'd constantly be saying, velocity 124, airborne contact. You're always going to be saying contact approach on 132.0. Or you need to be, sorry, no, I'll say that again, that's not quite right. Because I don't own any airspace in real life, I need to coordinate with the approach controller for a clearance to get this guy into that airspace, in that 5,000 sort of airspace. And that takes a lot of time. And when you're in the Melbourne airport, you haven't got time to do that. So what they do is they release that airspace, not that you own it, they give you a temporary sort of ownership of a certain block of airspace, and that is an auto release. You take ownership, but you don't really own it, because approach really owns it. Anything above the ground upwards, approach. But imagine if you didn't own that airspace, or you didn't have auto release, you'd constantly be on the button in real life saying, Alpha Bravo Charlie, or velocity 124, taxis for runway 16, request clearance, and then the approach controller would have to give you the clearance to give to them. So that's the auto release. It provides a more orderly, a more efficient way of giving clearances to aircraft. I'm not sure if I've explained that correct, but okay. So that all makes sense. Cheers. Okay, what about radar departures? How does tower tell departures what's going on? Okay, you mean for like assigned headings and stuff like that? Because if it's a radar departure, I think I know what you're trying to say. So, for example, if it's a Melbourne 6, that's a radar departure. Okay, well, that's when tower dings, and that's the right word, because if you ever gone to these approach rooms, they've got like a button, and it's a hotline. It's very similar to what I've got here. Have a look here. So if I want a cohort, there it is, Melbourne, and I can give this guy I hit that button, and I call and I say next. Let's say I'm controlling Melbourne, by the way. I'd hit that button and say next velocity 124, and he would look and he says, "Oh, right, okay, that means he needs an assigned heading." So that's what that radar departure is. You've got to get an assigned heading to give then. The approach control will say velocity 124, assigned heading right 350, whatever, assigned left 265 or 260. So, and then you would tell that to the aircraft, say, velocity 124, assigned heading 340, contact departures airborne, clear for takeoff. So that's something, and I think that's what you're trying to ask me, I think. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so, oh, God, this tea. Now, what? Geez, I've got to give 10 out of 10 for old Lima Sierra Papa. Let's have a look. I don't have any weather for Moorabbin. Yeah. Let me have a look here. There's another way of doing this. I do this sometimes. See Moorabbin Meta, and it's not available. Okay, all right. Now somebody's on. Okay, Melbourne Approach is on and MB-TWR is on. Yeah, so let me tell this guy. Yeah, Lima Sierra Papa. He's probably gone to sleep. I don't blame him.
MB-TWR.
Yeah, Lima Sierra Papa, due to technical difficulties, no ADIS is available for Moorabbin at this time.
MB-TWR. No worries. Just can you advise us from ways in use at the moment?
Lima Sierra Papa, sorry, say again?
Could you just advise which runways are active at the moment?
Lima Sierra Papa, stand by. We'll assume this. Okay, let's go. Let's go to Melbourne. Let's have a look at Essendon. Essendon Meta 350 at 8 knots. Okay, all right. We'll assume that because they're only a few kilometres apart. Lima Sierra Papa, actives are 3-1 left and right. Oh, correction, 3-5 left and right, sir.
MB-TWR.
Yeah, Jason, yeah, cheers, mate. Makes sense. Didn't know controllers did that. Yeah, every time you get a radar departure, and I'll try to get and this is what pilots aren't familiar with as well. I'll get, I've got a thing here called charts, and I go to air service aerodromes, and let's say go to Melbourne, which is, and you have a look at here, and there's a SID. You got all these SIDs, right? But this is the Melbourne 6th, and you can see here radar. So I open that, and it tells me, see, at 1,500, as soon as they pass 1,500, you can see here, like for example, if they take off a runway 34 at 1,500, see, it said turn to a side heading. And that is what is given by the tower controller to the aircraft. So like I said, it might be something like this, velocity 124, side heading, left 310, contact departures airborne, clear for takeoff. So that's basically what your radar departure does. And yeah, so just be conscientious of that. Now, any other, Matchim doesn't have a METAR from Moorabbin. I normally use the real METAR for weather. Yeah, okay, I suppose. What is the real weather? I'll tell you what, that's what I should have done. I should have gone to this mob here, and I don't know if you guys use this, windy. Yeah, shit day. Well, not that shit, but, well, it is shit for me, but I guess for Melbourne it might be great weather. Holy crap, look at this. So, not sure. Why don't we go YMMB? Moorabbin. There we go. We got the winds. Wow, QNH is 999. And the winds are 5 knots. Okay. No METAR. So if we go, what about YMML? Tullamarine. And it's too hard. Okay. Anyhow, getting off the track here. Now, you... Okay, so any questions so far? There's something else. Okay, so Jason, it's 350 at 8 knots. Well, there you go, perfect. Scattered at 6,700, scattered at 10,000, broken at 12,500 temperature. QNH is 90909, as I said. Nick, this is really informative stuff. I used to do.
Lima Sierra Papa, solo 4 circuit, runway 35 right, request taxi.
Lima Sierra Papa, taxi to holding point Alpha 7, runway 35 left.
Just confirm runway 35 right, Lima Sierra Papa.
What's he saying? Say again, Lima Sierra Papa.
Lima Sierra Papa, just requesting runway 35 right for circuits.
Why would you do that when he's close to 35 left? Lima Sierra Papa, just confirm 35 right. Any reason why you want to do 35 right, sir? 35 left will be a more suitable runway for you, sir.
Lima Sierra Papa, generally at Moorabbin they'll take the circuits off of 35 right, but I'm happy to do either, it's up to you.
Yeah, your choice, sir. If you want, you can taxi via Bravo 1 to holding point, taxi via Bravo to Bravo 1 holding point runway 35 right and cross runway 34 left.
Bravo cross tree 5 left, Bravo 1 tree 5 right, Lima Sierra Papa.
Yeah, how you going? FPS City or whatever that means. Development channel. Hello. Oh, how are you? Okay, thanks for the sub. Now, there's something. Anybody out there who knows how to get these? You know how you see on the screen here, I'm not very computer savvy with this sort of stuff. You know how you get the chat up here and the subscribed and, you know, somebody subscribed. I'm trying to work out how to get all that going, but it doesn't matter. I'm not really that interested in that. I'm more interested in sort of giving informative instructions for people. Yeah, so let's say we're talking about, we're trying to, yeah, so what would be, let's say, for example, you've got someone and he's inbound and he reports Cerberus, or he reports at Carrum and for runway 1. So the next, obviously, the instruction from ATC or from Moorabbin is basically you've got to give him joining instructions. And like I said before, it could be, you know, you tell him to join base or downwind or overfly. That would be the next. Okay. Then the onus is on that aircraft to report downwind with intentions, because he may just want to do a touch and go as well. He doesn't. Not in every plane wants to just land. Most of them will, but others want to do a touch and go because this is a training base. They want to do a touch and go. You know, So it's always important, you as the pilot, to advise. Okay, good. Where is this? Moorabbin to Essendon. Okay, and he's IFR. Okay. And he's going at 4,000. Well, we got no one at... We got no one at now. Okay. Okay, November Alpha Romeo, I'll take it that's Daniel.
Tower Lima Sierra Papa, running short right tree 5 right on Bravo 1 for circuits ready.
Lima Sierra Papa, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, Lima Sierra Papa.
Okay, so now by the way, that me giving him a takeoff clearance is a clearance to operate in the control zone. Okay, he doesn't need any further clearance to operate in the control zone. Oh, mate, Jason, yeah, 99 subscribers. Mate, put it this way. If this guy has thousands of subscribers, I don't know, he's got 1,085 doing this, and he doesn't tell any information at all. He just sits there playing a bugle, and he gets 1,000 subscribers. Now, I love the guy. He's interesting character. I've never met him. It's probably my goal in life to meet him and, you know, maybe show him a bit of my bugle. But anyhow. Hopefully that'll push it over 100. Can I give you a rendition of, I don't know, You Are My Sunshine? It's a pity I haven't got a camera. Is there a donation page? I wonder if there's a donation page so I can get so I can buy a camera to put on here so you can see what I look like. Maybe that will be. I should have under here a donation goal. I've seen people like donating, you know, for whatever, and yeah, I'm not a great fan of that. I'm not here to make the money. I just want to educate people and probably even give you a laugh as well, you know. So if I can entertain you guys, as well as giving you, hopefully, what I think is informative stuff, then I'm a happy man, you know. And yeah, so I'm not in the business of accepting donations or all that. It's never been part of my thing. But anyhow, and you can actually ask young Chris there. And I think I know if it's the same guy.
William Sierra Papa turning downwind, touch and go.
William Sierra Papa, clear touch and go, runway 35 right.
35 right, clear touch and go, William Sierra Papa.
Yeah, like I spent many hours. I think it's the same Chris. I'm sure it is, Aviation Chris, and he's always offered to give me some sort of compensation for my time, and I've never accepted it. So yeah, so you know, Chris will be testament to the fact that, like I say, I don't take any donations or anything like that. I don't believe in it. I believe in just working for your money, and this is part I enjoy doing all this. And Chief Man, Nick, it takes time. If you build it, they will come. Exactly. And we all know that's the, what is it, the baseball movie? Trying to think of who. Yeah, trying to think who it was now. Oh, I've got the guy's face. Yeah, it's a softball. This guy built a softball stadium. And yeah, sure enough, it mirrors real life, actually. It actually happened in real life. It's just not a movie. But, yeah, so I'm saying as much as he's gone. Oh, okay, I can't play the bugle again. So as much as I love the guy, but, you know, I'm not sure how you get 1,000 subscribers just sitting in a plane playing a bugle. But, hey, it takes all kinds, and we love it. That's why the world is such a wonderful place. We're full of varied and interesting characters. Okay, now, okay, so you've reported downwind, okay? Now, the first thing, you've got to realise you're at 1,000 feet. The next instruction you can expect from tower is you clear the visual approach, runway 35 right, so words to this effect, Alpha Bravo Charlie, cleared visual approach, runway 35 right, you're number one. In other words, what that's telling you is you don't have to look for any aircraft because you are number one in that area. You are number one for the landing sequence. Because the reason why Moorabbin or those will say number one, because it's a sequencing phraseology. If they say you're number two, that means you better look out the window because there's someone ahead of you and they're telling you to look out that window, to look for that other aircraft that's number one, okay? You don't have to necessarily tell him it's sighted unless he says, you know, there's a Piper Warrior on runway a final 3-5 right report sighting, and then you'll look for him and say, oh, yeah, Alpha Bravo Charlie, aircraft sighted. And he said, then he'll say, you cleared the visual approach 3-5 right, you're number 2. Okay, so that's part of, when you hear that, you know, you're number 2 or you're number 1, it's a way of the tower telling you the sequencing, what you are in that sequence. Because like I said, he has no responsibility to separate you from anybody else. He just needs to give you traffic information. Okay, so it's inbounds. It's like I said, you'll report inbound. You'll be at normally 1,500, whether you're coming from the north, the west, the south, or the east. You're normally at 1,500. You're no more, no less. You put it this way. You're not going to be at 2,500 because you've got to get down to 1,000 circuit altitude in this short space of time. It can be done, but you're only putting pressure on yourself. So normally 1,500 is where these VFR approach points, okay? So, and then he'll give you joining instructions, and that is, well, by the way, by giving you a joining instruction, it is a clearance to enter the control zone, okay? He doesn't need to say, Alpha Bravo Charlie, you're cleared to enter control zone 1,500. He'll just say, Alpha Bravo Charlie, join...
Lima Sierra Papa, turning downwind, touch and go.
Lima Sierra Papa, clear touch and go, runway 35 right.
35 right, clear touch and go, Lima Sierra Papa.
So, yeah, now, Lima Sierra Papa, he's doing the right thing. At downwind, normally he should wait for mid-downwind to give me his intention. So he's saying the right thing. So, yeah, so he'll give you joining instructions, and then he'll give you a cleared visual approach. Now, cleared visual approach, okay, means now you can leave 1,000 feet. Now you can start your descent onto base or on final. But you cannot descend below 1,000 feet until the tower controller says, Alpha Bravo Charlie, clear the visual approach, number 1. Okay? And then as he sees you turning on base, because you've got to realise, even though we're looking at a radar screen here, but in real life he's looking out the window and he sees you turning base onto final, and then he'll go, Alpha Bravo Charlie, runway 35 right or 35 left, clear to land. Okay? So that's the sort of sequence of radio calls that are made. And also, like I said, it is the onus on you as a pilot to report at the right times and to maintain a certain altitude. So these are things that... Yeah, that's right, Jason. I'll also send over $50 to replace the chai tea with a carton. Tell me about it. Oh, man. I tell you, I don't know why the wife buys me this shit, but anyhow, they tell me it's good for me, okay? So if it's good for you, I guess it... But, yeah. So, okay, so that's basically arrivals, and you'll find that that's probably the general... There might be, for most Metro Class D airspace, that would be the general sort of phraseology. But like I said, if you want to control these Metro Class Ds, the first thing I advise you is to know your control zone, know that that's 3 miles, know that you control up to 2,500 feet, know what the adjoining airspace is, and know what these abbreviations are. As in, that's Academy, that's a GMH, that's Cerberus, that's Brighton, and on and on and on. So now at the end of the day, you don't really need to know all this, but you need to... this is really for a pilot. These are the VFR tracking points. You see one there, and you see another one up here. And if you have a look at the charts, and this probably gives you a better idea. Oh, by the way, anybody understand all these charts? Did you want me to you see these VFR, recommended VFR routes? So this is what they call the, what do they call this one? This is the Kilmore track. That's it. See that one? Because it goes up to Kilmore. Now, having said that, see how you've got Kilmore and you've got this Well, if you're at Kilmore, you don't call Moorabbin Tower. This is just a VFR tracking point. It's basically when you get there, because no use calling Moorabbin Tower if you're up here, even though they've got VFR. I'm just trying to actually find the. Oh, they haven't got it. Okay, so you'd go. I think this is called the Kilmore Gap. Okay, and this gets you in under what the Class Charlie steps. So if you're coming up from Ballarat or up here somewhere, you go through, and this is what I like about. I'm sure you can be able to see this in MS 2020. You can actually fly this route because you'll be able to see the Yan Yin Reservoir, and you could stay east of that reservoir and down to the Sugarloaf Reservoir, and then from there track down to Academy. And by the way, you can put these into Sky Vector. See,
Lima Sierra Papa turning downwind, touch and go, and requesting a downwind departure to the training area.
Downwind departure to training area. Roger. Lima Sierra Papa, clear touch and go, runway 35 right, and contact me again or call me again at downwind.
Alright, 35 right, clear touch and go, Wilco, Lima Sierra Papa.
Now, he's Lima Sierra Papa, he's a VFR. Actually, he didn't need to contact me again because he's going to be under the control steps. So once again, it was like Daniel when he departed up here. He didn't need to contact me. It's just to make a mental note because these Class D airspaces, I'll tell you now, they're a lot more busier than just one aircraft in the circuit. They have got people coming in left, right, and centre. So Lima Sierra Papa really just needs to contact me downwind, and he doesn't need to speak to me because he's leaving. He's going to be going to Class G. He'll be departing, and he just now needs to change over to now if Snowy was online, listening watch on Snowy. Okay, but in real life, as we saw before, it's 135.7, and if you see up here. Melbourne, it's 135.7. See up here? Melbourne Centre. So that's what he needs to do. Maintain listening watch on 135.7. Okay. Hey, James, how are you? Where it has 3,000, Jason, what's the upper limit on these charts? 180, basically. For use, up here, see it says for use, up to and including 180, okay? Because, and why is it 180? Because, funny enough, 180 is the lowest level for Class A airspace, and we all know what Class A airspace is, don't we? Any takers? Class A airspace? Well, Class A airspace, for all those people who may or may not know, is that you can't, you need a clearance because, it's 18,000 feet and above, and it's basically only used for, VFR aircraft cannot enter Class A airspace or cannot go into Class airspace. Because most of the VFR aircraft can't climb that high. I don't think a Cessna can. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that, James. Yeah. Okay. Centre training. Good. 29.8 hours, yeah, for TMA. Geez, I like to bring up my stats for TMA. I tell you what, how many times I've controlled Melbourne approach. Jesus. I reckon it's over 1,000, 1,600 or something like that. And, yeah, so what do we got? Oh, hang on, I've got this ATIS. Oh, no wonder people are getting confused. Okay. I've got to delete. Okay, no wonder. Yeah, so 18,000 feet, that's why you've got that's the upper limit, that's the lowest, that's the upper limit.
Hey, Monsieur, prepared then.
16 hours on Sunday, on Sydney. Let me see it apart. Yeah, I did need to talk to him. He's downwind. He just needs to tell me he's departing, and that's all I need to know. For me, 16 hours on Sydney. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, not. Yeah, I haven't done a lot on Sydney, and because I can't be. It's a lot of vectoring and all that, and yeah, I don't need practice on vectoring. I've done enough of it. So yeah. Now, as you guys know, and this is probably, I'd like to do it, but I've got to get enough information. And somebody actually asked me, there's a position, see the procedural towers? Now, this is a whole different ball game. Because if you want to operate any of these guys, you know, Hobart, they are because they're procedural, they use what they call procedural standards. Surprise, surprise. And procedural standards, unlike what we have in the radar world, where we use, you know, lateral separation, vertical separation, procedural is all time-based and mostly longitudinal. So, and that's another, if anybody ever does real air traffic control, procedural is a nightmare. Yeah, so it takes quite a bit of effort to understand and learn procedural. And not only that, I'm not really familiar with procedural phraseology. Yeah, probably a good point, not a good point, but a good thing is to listen to live ATC and listen to Alice Springs. I've listened to it a few times and having a use of what I do sometimes. I listen to live ATC and then I get this little baby out, flight tracker, right? And go YBAS, which is Alice. And I see what's happening at Alice. You can see this, well, not much, I guess. Yeah, the fly dock, there's a hell of a lot of fly dock. I was there a few years ago. When you land at the airport, there's a whole area where you got the flying doctor service there. So I guarantee he's probably coming into Alice. So what I do is I go there and I go to live ATC. I love this series. Alone SBS On Demand. I love SBS On Demand. But anyhow, live ATC. And YBAS. And you listen to Tower or whatever centre there. And you can see Alice Tower CTAF. Yeah, that's something I ought to do the CTAFs. But yeah, so, and I try to sort of look to see what Tower's saying and then see what aircraft are around. And so it's a whole different ball game. You could see this guy, he's probably he's overflown from Darwin to Adelaide. Okay. So that's what I try to do, sort of meld the two in together by looking at the aircraft and then listening to what Alice Springs Tower is saying and then try to... But that takes a hell of a lot of time, a lot of patience, and you've got to get it at the right time. But so probably, hopefully, once I'm more knowledgeable in the procedural stuff, because like I said, procedurals is a real nightmare because they've got, you know, they write down on their strips the times that their aircraft are reported, and it's pretty complicated stuff. Okay. Jay, we had to change the runway twice because of the wind. It was 25 at the start. Yeah, I know. I've had those days too. Yeah, can be a bit hairy. But yeah, I did a video on the parallel runway ops a while ago, and I think this time my next video will be probably doing Brisbane approach. And you have a look at the ATIS for Brisbane, you'll see you'll see most of the time the ATIS will say dependent parallel approaches and independent departures, or something like that, words to that effect. I'm trying to think. YBB and ATIS. And more often than not, yeah, expect the instrument approach, runway 01 left and right arrivals, dependent parallel approaches and independent parallel departures in progress. Okay, and more often than not, like I said, you always see that, and I'll explain why that is the case, why you always see that, because you have to have a certain runway separation between the parallel runways for them to satisfy independent approaches or dependent approaches. Now, the more constraining one is obviously the dependent one, and once I get onto Brisbane approach, I'll show you why, and I'll show you what they call the transgression zone and how you manage that. Well, it's not really managed by the approach or departures guy. It's managed by what they call finals, the guy on finals, and that's all he has to do. Just monitor the aircraft and make sure one doesn't transgress and goes into transgression zone, and if one does do that, then he's got to tell the other aircraft, quick, there's a guy coming in your way, you've got to take up this heading and got to go turn left immediately, 350, blah, blah, blah. All this, there's certain phraseology, and that's something I've got to get up to speed with because I'm not really 100% sure on that phraseology. Okay, let's get back to this metro. So, once again, the first thing you do when you log on, doesn't matter whether it's Jandakot, doesn't matter when, read the TMA for that airport, and more often than not, that'll give you. Then go to what I said, the FAC, and then know all your visual reporting points. Know those off by heart. Before you even say one word, make sure, and although look at the chart, have a look at the charts. So you know that that's called Brighton, that's called Cerberus, that's called Academy, you know. So, you know, that's Academy, there's Brighton, there's Cerberus, there's Carrum, there's the GMH building. Okay, so that's the one thing you really need to understand. Okay, anything else that crops to mind, or maybe I haven't covered? I'm just trying to think at the moment. I'm just trying to think. It's I've talked about departures. I've talked about arrivals. And I've talked about start approvals, and we know when a start clearance is required. And we go back to that document, the FAC document, and memory serves me correct. If we're going into Essendon, landing at Essendon, landing at Melbourne, doing circuits or aerial work to the south. Now see if I've remembered that right. Look at that. Circuit ops, departing for aerial work in the Melbourne TMA, landing at Melbourne. Oh, and that's the one. Above 2,000 landing at Essendon. And actually, when you actually see the live ATC, a lot of people, what they do, they take off. Part of their training actually is they take off, whatever. Let's say they take off at 17. They take off, they turn crosswind, and they depart the extended, so they depart downwind and they fly up here and they do the ILS at Essendon, right? They don't actually do the full ILS. They do what they call, what is it? At the minimum, it's like a missed approach. But they're just practicing the ILS, and then from there, approach then tells them take up what heavy, and then they go up to, I don't know, Ballarat or Bendigo, wherever they want to go. So what they do, a lot of times you see guys, they take off Moorabbin and they go and they practice the ILS over at Avalon, if I can find it. There you go, that's Avalon. And they go via that there you go, they via that. So that's something. Now that's something you guys should, and this is what I'll be doing too, should be doing, practicing. Now, if I was to give a clearance and you wanted to go to Avalon, you as a controller, as the tower controller at Moorabbin, the clearance would be pretty simple. You cleared the guy Samig Temple Track 6,000. That's all you need to say. You cleared the Samig Temple Track. Unlike, for example, if you give a clearance at Melbourne, you cleared Docell Plan Route 6,000 or 5,000 runway, blah blah blah. All you need to tell them is cleared the Samig Temple route 6,000. And then when he passes, and then when he takes off, you say passing 2,500 contact departures, and then departures. What they'll do they'll look after him and clear him for the ILS. So that is actually, you can practice that, and that's something I'll be doing once I get FS 2020, which shouldn't be long now. Because like I said, I don't know if you guys have been watching, I've had problems. Not problems. I've had to deal with life and issues. So I've had to do that, and that's why I haven't sort of had the opportunity to do other things. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, Academy is the Victorian Police Training Base for anyone interested. Yep, exactly. And it's a very prominent building. It's like up here. Have a look up here. This WES. Well, any guesses for what that is? And the BLTB, that's the Balti Bridge, and that's the Westgate Bridge. And MCTY is Melbourne City, and obviously that's the MCG. So these are all things you can do. Like if you have a look at Stephen Jury, he'll many things. He'll take off Moorabbin. He'll do request circuits around Melbourne City, a couple of circuits around Melbourne City, and then comes back down to, and that's probably in a way. You listen to the radio calls there. That's really instructional. And there's another guy. Hang on. Bear with me for a sec. There's another guy who's very, like anything else, poor bugger. He's, what's his name? Barry Roberts. Oh, that was. No, hang on. All right, Moorabbin to King Island. I don't know. Maybe that's guy's called Barry. Barry. There he is. No, it's Mark Roberts. This guy.
If you are struggling to lose weight,
if you listen to this guy, he does all the radio calls, and if you have a look at his and he covers all the radio calls. So there's a few of them. See, Moorabbin. Look. You listen to this guy. Moorabbin to Avalon East, practice for the real thing, Avalon. Well, yeah, but if you look at this guy now, he's got 1,800. But look, so it's very instructional what he does. So if
Moorabbin Tower, Cessna Lima Sierra Papa at Karen 1,500, receive nil latest inbound.
Lima Sierra Papa, g'day, Moorabbin Tower, maintain 1,500.
1,500, Lima Sierra Papa.
Now, because I've talked to him, that means I've given a clearance. By me acknowledging him, okay, that is in itself a clearance to enter the control zone. Okay? Lima Sierra Papa, just say again the preferred runway.
From the west, so take runway 35 left, please, Lima Sierra Papa.
Lima Sierra Papa, roger. Now, what I've got to do now is I've got to give him adjoining instructions, okay? So, let's go something like this. Lima Sierra Papa, join final runway 35 left, you're number 1.
Final runway 35 left, Lima Sierra Papa.
Now, he's basically got to maintain 1,500. Okay? He's showing 1,300 there. Now, he shouldn't be descending. He should be on final. Okay? Lima Sierra Papa, you cleared the visual approach, runway 35 left.
Cleared visual approach, runway 35 left, Lima Sierra Papa.
Now that there indicates now he can descend, okay? He doesn't have to descend straight away, but by me telling him that he's cleared the visual approach, he can now descend down to 9, which he's doing now, 900, 800. You can see. So he's at 900. By the way, what does WOOS mean? I wonder. That's something I have to find out. WOOS. Lima Sierra Papa, runway 35 left, clear land.
Runway 35 left, clear land, Lima Sierra Papa.
Yeah, and thanks, Chris. I got your thing regarding Cerberus. Thank you very much. That was, and it's probably I'm not sure if any guys out there who've got Microsoft Flight Simulator. I know some of these points show up. I'm sure Brighton does. I think even in P3D it was a rudimentary type of thing, but that showed up. I'm sure X-Plane that would show up. Now Academy, that's another story. It's a building, and most of I don't think Australia, bar Tasmania, has got 3D photogrammetry or something. I'm not sure whether that would show up or not. But anyhow, that's something I'm looking forward to, having a look. And like I said, there's a few things I need to do, and I'll do that. My goal is to do the instructional videos regarding flying and radio calls and doing the right thing, so taking off from Moorabbin, and if, let's say for approaches online, I'll wait for somebody to be on approach, and I'll do the ILS into Avalon, or, I'll fly via the Kilmore Gap, I'll go, and I'll do the flight planning and everything from go to woe. And hopefully that'll get me 100 subscribers. And because I enjoy VFR flying, it is, it's... Yep, I certainly have, and Aviation Chris could be testament to that. I have done a vid on setting up VATSIS for a beginner. All you need to go is my channel called Pushing 10. And hopefully it's fairly instructional. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure Aviation Chris has seen it. Thanks for the comments. So, yeah, it's... And I think, what else have I think there's a... Yeah, see, Mark Roberts. I don't know why I said Barry. There might be another guy too called Barry. Oh, here we go, Mark Roberts.
Lima Sierra Papa vacated Alpha 4 for the main apron because taxi.
Lima Sierra Papa, taxi to the apron.
Apron, Lima Sierra Papa.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot, Aviation Chris. Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome. And like I said, it's my intention. As soon as Microsoft Flight Simulator becomes a better and more improved product, and who knows down the track with their Bing mapping or whatever, the photogrammetry or whatever you want to call it, I'm sure it's a product in development, and it's certainly the argument can be said, well, is it going to overtake? Well, no. Each platform has their own strong points and weak points, and obviously MSFS is the weak point is their flight modelling, but they're continual updating. X-Plane has excellent flight modelling, and they're improving their scenery as well. So each different platform has a strong point and weak point. And really, if you want to be, for the time, if you really want to be a perfectionist, you'd use X-Plane for basically your IFR stuff and MSFS for your VFR. I guess if you really wanted to be fussy about that, that's probably what I would. But I'm just going to install Microsoft Flight Simulator, and hopefully that's just going to be an ongoing development, and hopefully one day the modelling, and they're always improving. I mean, I saw a video the other day, this guy, where they looked at the Bonanza, and what I liked about this Microsoft MSFS is the mods you can put on it. And there are people, like working on the CJ4, and they're working on the modelling. And that's what the SDK for Microsoft allows for these third mob, I mean, have a look at what they're doing for the Airbus, the 320. Even though Phoenix Simulation is going to be a payware aircraft, and I think that's what they're doing is fairly awesome. But I won't say it's as good as the equivalent. What's that product? They X-Plane 737, but it's a work in progress for the Airbus 320, and even PMDG is starting to talk about getting the 737 for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I guess if PMDG are talking about it, I reckon they're the benchmark. If they're interested, well, certainly that's. Yeah, that's right. Orthos are a fantastic way to go. And once again, you're limited to your hard space, really, because from what I know, with your orthos, you can get it down to, magnification of 14, which gives you extra high detail, but it chews up the amount of space on your hard drive. So if you've got mega terabytes hanging around, orthos are a fantastic way to go if you got X-Plane. But yeah, X-Plane, as far as flight modelling, I think probably is the best. And if you're, like I said, a perfectionist, you want to stick with X-Plane, and not if you're not really worried about the scenery. But because I love my VFR and presents different challenges, let's just say, I just think that, and don't get me wrong, I mean, there is a place for flying IFR, and if you enjoy the jets. But by starting with the VFR stuff, you get down to you start to learn all the basics. You start to learn about navigation, and you can imagine, and you learn all the basics about navigation. You learn all the basics about VORs, and I think you're testament to this, Aviation Chris, when I was teaching you VOR and how you track a radial and outbound and inbound. I'm not sure have I got that video still? I'm sure I've got the video. The video is still around, I'm sure of it. And I might do another one, because I'm just trying to look at VOR. Yeah, there it is. Who's asking for VATSIS? Jason. There it is. VATSIS for beginners, if you can see that. VATSIS for, and the VATSIS setup. And these are all my, this is the one. Now, if I had to do this one again, VOR navigation tutorial, there's a long period there. See, now these days you can pause on the OBS system, but this is a bit sort of long and boring. But if you want to know how to do VORs, and I have I can highly recommend this video.
Over to
See,
Catalina,
and
then up to the Ventura VOR, and then over to Santa Barbara, which on the surface you think, well, that's okay. Now the thing is with it,
so, and I have a bit of a, don't get me wrong, if I have a dig at someone, I'm not making real big fun of people, because we all got different abilities in life. Don't get me wrong. It's just having a, you know,
in the simulator,
you got to be careful what you look on YouTube. Trust me. And if there's one piece of word of advice, you got to, everything you see on YouTube, just to take it on board, but don't take everything for gospel. Be prepared to do your own homework, okay, and research. And there are heaps of things to do. Now, this is not having a go at anyone, but there was a guy called Peter Mattis, and he had thousands of followers, and I'm not really having... Which aviation Chris, one on Peter's flight was the best? Is that Peter Mathouse, is it, Chris? Oh, 100 subscribers! Woohoo! Does that mean I start getting money? Will YouTube come back to me and say, hey, 100 subscribers, mate? Is that the one on Peter Mathouse's Mattis's flight aviation, Chris? Or can I call you Chris? I guess I can. Yeah, see, now if somebody was looking at that, and I'm not really having a go, and the guy's, you know, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but what he was giving out was the wrong information. And I don't really know. Hey, thank you, mate. Thank you, Jason. Deserve it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, listen, I might celebrate. Just give you a bit of a rendition. Okay. So, my wife, I can hear my wife laughing in the background. You know the reason why she married me? I said, why did you marry me? She said, I loved your sense of humour. So anyhow. Anyhow. So, yes, yeah. Now, Peter, he's all the best intentions. And he's, you know, he was trying to give it, and he gave out some fantastic information. I love it. Yeah. So, you know, he wasn't meaning to give the wrong information, but he just was. And I've tried to correct that, and hopefully I've done it in a sort of a diplomatic way. I need 1,000 subs. 1,000 subs. What, to get to YouTube to contact me? Oh. Okay, I need 1,000 subs. Maybe if I can get some of those, maybe I can ask some of the subscribers for Musical Aviator. Or most of them might be dead by now. Who knows? I don't know. But maybe they can come over and see one step at a time. Yeah, there'll be many steps. I reckon I'll be 94 by the time I get 1,000 subs. I reckon, you know. Yeah, when I'm lying there, I might get the, you know, I think they give you a badge or something. They'll put the badge on my chest while I'm lying in my coffin and say, congratulations, 1,000 subs. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be one of my great achievement in life, 1,000 subs, lying in my coffin. Yeah, so anyhow, yeah, so Peter was, because, see, I'm not sure. Peter started off on flying jets. I'm not sure going into, and like I said, I don't want to criticise, and it's not a criticism. It's just, hopefully it's a constructive criticism, just to make you guys aware that there's a lot of, what's the right word, erroneous information out there, and you've got to be careful what you take on board. And even though Peter, with all best intentions, he was like, for example, he was using Plan G to plan IFR flights. And, well, that's the worst thing you can do, because Plan G is a VFR planning tool. And the best way to, if you're not paying for whatever, for those paid flight planning tools, even SimBrief, you see, SimBrief is a perfect instrument or perfect thing to flight plan. But because he didn't know what, for example, let's go to Sky Vector, okay, and let's go Melbourne to Adelaide. Okay, and normally they go this way. They go via the H345 route, and hey mate, gonna hop on and do some circuit. No worries, Jack. Yeah. Now, if I do, for example, we go 35. I don't know, 30,000, flight level 300, okay? And we do a nav lock. Now, you wouldn't do this if you're flying a jet, but let's say you're flying, this is just an example, don't get me, this is an example. Now, if you didn't know navigation, right, and you printed out this nav log, which hopefully with Adobe Acrobat, I'm not sure. They've come onto a desktop, or they've opened a desktop app now these days. Okay, now, because I've started flying VFR and I had to know all the basic things regarding how to navigate properly. If you don't know what the difference between a track is, or true heading, or magnetic heading, then you're up shit creek, basically. And I'm not sure, and by flying VFR, I knew exactly what all that meant. Whereas Peter didn't know what the difference, what's the difference between track, what's true heading, what's a magnetic heading. And without sort of, I don't want to labour this too much, but let's say, for example, I drew a straight line from Melbourne to Adelaide. The track is basically that straight line you draw on a map. In the real world, you draw a line, and that's basically your track. And that's doesn't take into account, if you measure that angle from Melbourne to Adelaide and you do a straight line, okay, or sorry, for that line there, see that purple line, that is a track, okay? Or and that accounts for no wind, no magnetic variation, and hopefully you guys know what magnetic variation. It's just a straight line, and you measure it. That angle, say there's north, there's true north, and then there's magnetic north. But if you measure it, that's 290, whatever it is, whatever it was. So 290. However, once you start flying at flight level 350, you've got what they call a wind correction angle. Because even if you fly from point A to point B along that track, if you've got wind, it's going to push you off course, obviously. So what they do is you calculate in the real world, if you're training as a pilot, you have to calculate what they call a wind correction angle. And in this case, it's 6 degrees. This is the beauty of Sky Vector. So you have to add 6 degrees, because you can see the winds here coming from 350, right, at 9 knots. So if you're flying along there, the wind's going there, the wind's trying to push you south. So you need a wind correction angle of 6 degrees to keep you on that track there, okay? So that's the wind correction angle. But that's not all, okay? Because there's a difference between a heading, true heading, or you have to add that wind correction angle to get your true heading. So 2980 plus 6 gives you your true heading. But the Earth, being a big ball of iron or whatever, there's a difference between obviously true heading and magnetic heading. And it's called the variation. And it's to do, and I won't go into all the thing, but if you go east, it's what they call least. If you go west, it's best. Now, because we're east of what they call the isogenic zero line, there is a magnetic variation of 12 degrees. So you have to take 12 degrees off that 296 to get 284. And that's how you read this navlog. So basically, if you're taking off from Melbourne and you're going along this line, right, you have to fly a magnetic heading of 284, even though off the chart you've measured this as 270, okay? You've measured it, so you in the real world they get a protractor and you measure it and you line it up along this line and you get an angle of 270, but you've got to account for the wind and the deviation. Now, Peter didn't know that, okay? And he was given all this carrying on with, oh, look at this. Oh, my missus has bought me different tea. It's the African tea. What's it called, love? Rabobo or something. Oh, this is wonderful. So this is basic navigation skills. And this is what I like about VFR flying, because you've got to do this all the time. There's two ways of navigating, using the charts, or you can use sight. And that, like I said, that's why there's VTC charts. You can use the chart and use landmarks, whether it is a sunken ship, whether it's a bridge, whether it's a lake. They look out your window. You don't have to worry about any charts. If you want to go to, let's say, for example, Laverton, taking off Melbourne, you just follow the coast and make sure you're along the coast and you're in Laverton. Make sure you're following and you're using these charts, because that's what they use in the real world. And basically use the landmarks, whatever that landmark mark might be. So that's one form of navigation, but then there's the other form of navigation where you actually use what they call the navlog. Now, sorry? Oh, okay. So there are two ways to navigate, and it's up to you to decide. Of course, when there's perfect VMC, it's best just to look out the window and follow the road or railway or go track towards a lake or whatever. But if it's pretty crappy conditions and you've got an IMC, well, this is what you've got to use. Okay, so that's that. I think that's online. Melbourne approach. Oh, that'll help. Hang on, this guy's doing circuits though. Tea, yeah, it's Raboba tea. Heading. What you're looking at, track, is where you're going. Okay, that's one way of. Yep, that is one way of doing it. I'll just be right back. You can guess with drinking the amount of tea that I've drank. I'll be right back. Won't be long. Yeah, okay. So, like I said, VFR is, it's fun. I can. Hopefully, if there's young guys out there, please start off flying VFR. Start off flying that little one Cessna 72. For you, it mightn't be exciting. I know but believe me, it starts you off on a journey of learning how to fly properly and using the VATSIM environment to a fullest, because you can take on, treat it like your virtual flight training. Because like I said, I haven't seen many people do it, but in the real world it happens all the time. Take off from Moorabbin, do the ILS, runway 26, and then execute the mist, and then go over to Avalon, do the ILS Avalon, and then come back via the VFR route, and then enter and come back to Moorabbin. That's Jack. Hey, quick question. If I were to do city orbits, how would I request clearance from Essendon Tower or Melbourne Approach? Yeah, just say Melbourne Approach, Alpha Tango Whiskey, request 2 orbits to Melbourne City. That's all you need to say. And he'll say Alpha Tango Whiskey, 2 orbits approved. Report when complete. Because obviously then he needs to know when you've done the orbits, and then what he needs to do to vector you on back to Moorabbin. Or if there's or get you out of the way of other traffic, or whatever he needs to do to get you back to Moorabbin. That's all he needs to say. So that's all it is. And in that way, in that question, would probably, if you look at Stephen Drury's, he goes and he does orbits all the time around Melbourne. And I think he includes all the radio calls. So you can look at him. Now, I'm not sure. Let's get back. Aviation Chris, I know you've done a bit of VFR flying. How do you find it? Can you make a comment? I mean, or you started to do VFR flying? I know you do a lot of flying jets with Ryanair, and I've seen you a few times. And that's great. That's fantastic. But VFR is the way to go, I reckon. And then from there, of course, you build yourself up, and then you can take on different challenges. Hopefully, later on, I'll do what they call it. I'll fly different adventures, and not adventures. Like, for example, I'll fly around Ayers Rock, and I'll do. If you have a look at here, I'll just try to. If you have a look at Ayers Rock, there are certain things you have to do to go around Ayers Rock. You just don't take off and just go straight towards Ayers Rock. There's a particular route that you have to fly. Just bear with me for a second. And that's what I'll try to replicate that in my videos. Charts. What am I doing? Silly boy. If I go to Alice Springs, and this is something you guys could try out if you've got Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think Ayers Rock stands. I think Alice Springs. You can buy Alice Springs. I'm not sure, but definitely you can fly via Ayers Rock. It's trying to open up Ayers Rock. Here we go. Sorry, BN. What's that mean, Chris? Okay, so here it is here. Actually, I'll get it into a. Yeah, I like that better. If I want to fly out to Ayers Rock, okay, I take off from Alice Springs.
Moorabbin Tower, Golf Tango radio check.
Golf Tango X-ray. Sorry, say again.
I was supposed to get a radio check, please.
Yeah, read your 5x5, sir. there he is there. So now going back to if I want to fly from Ayers Rock Airport and I want to fly around Uluru, okay, this is the route that I just can't fly right around because this is all sent, and I can't go right around. This is the route that I have to fly. So hopefully I'll emulate that and do and fly this particular route, or take off from Alice Springs and go down to wherever, down to Mount Hitchins down this way, and then fly into Ayers Rock that way. Do that trek. That would be interesting. See, so that's something to do, and do it the proper way, and make sure that you follow all the. So you can see here, if you're a helicopter or a fixed wing, you've got to fly 4,000 feet that way, and once again, if you're flying fixed wing, okay, climb to 4,000. You can't go below 4,000. And then if you're going up here, and you can see that little arrow. So this is one direction. You see that little arrow? I'm not sure if you can see that properly, but there's the arrow there. So you've got to fly, and you go up to 4,500 because this is a sensitive area, and then the rock outbound, and then you've got to make the right radio calls. And how do I know the radio calls? Well, you go back to the FAC for Uluru, so because this is like a CTAF area, okay? And that's another thing too. If you go to Moorabbin, don't forget, outside of tower hours, it becomes Class G, therefore it becomes a CTAF, and therefore you need to make different radio calls. Once this is, and the VATSIM environment, the same thing. If this is not manned, and more often not, Moorabbin Tower is not manned, you've got to make CTAF calls. Yeah, okay, just follow the charts and visual waypoints. That's all it is. That's exactly right. But it's fun, and hopefully with Microsoft, it'll be visually appealing. And this is the thing with P3D. I never had to explain. Probably I should have, but it was. I never really got a great deal of pleasure, and because they didn't have any of the reporting points, I cheated and used the GPS and pretended, because even though they don't have them on P3D, but what you're allowed to do, or what you could do, is if you went to SkyVector, and I think I've shown you guys before, if you go to SkyVector, and let's say, for example, YMB, and you want to go to let's say Point Cook, okay, and you want to go at 060-6000. Now let's say, for example, I wanted to fly along this particular, I want to go Cerberus, Brighton, let's say, and you can see Brighton MB-TWR, okay, as per the thing. If I wanted to put Brighton there, I can, even though, and see that little dot there, that's Brighton. And then I can, now I'm not sure if you can export this, but I knew you'd be able to export this flight plan, and you used to be able to export it under FPL. You download the FPL, and in P3D you can import this FPL file into your GPS, and you could follow that. Even though when you get there you couldn't see anything, but you pretend you were there. And that's what I used to do, and pretend to, I could see Brighton, or I could see. I mean, I used to do a lot of VFR flying in America, because it's a lot more not visually appealing, but yeah, it was visually appealing, especially, you had pay-wear scenery around the Pacific Northwest, and that was stunning stuff around there. But so you can actually put these waypoints into here. Now, if I put Carrum, I think double R, I'm not sure. Yeah, see, Carrum is down there. And Carrum, as Chris said to me once, it's a town, that's all it is. So Off-flyer Jason, flyer VFR, love it so much cheaper using it. VFR is more fun and challenging. Yeah, well, you live in the same state as me, Jason. Good old Perth. I was going to say sunny Perth, but it's not really that sunny, and yeah. So, I implore you guys to start off with the thing and then slowly build up. Understand navigation, understand VORs, how to track them, and understand CTAF procedures, understand radio telephony or how to different procedures at different airports in Class D airspace. That's probably and don't forget, if you're flying VFR, even though most aircraft these days, they've got the
Robin Tower, Golf Tango looking for start approval at main apron.
Golf Tango X-rays, start approved.
Start approved also, stretches.
See, Jack, he knows what's going on. See, he asked for, because he's doing circuits, he asked for start approval. Okay. So, so like I said, it's, and then just slowly build yourself up from your Cessna, go to better aircraft, and then obviously get into understanding IFR flight planning. And what I try to do is I try to emulate the real world. So I've done a lot of flying in Australia, well, most of my flying in Australia, because I know the radio telephony and all that, but, nothing's stopping you going to America and understanding their rules as well and understanding their procedures. And it's just a matter of knowing where to find it. Like, for example, let's say, I wanted to, Wagga Wagga. What are the procedures? What do I need to do if I want to fly at Wagga Wagga? Well, like I said, the first thing I would do, I'd go and find out from the AI aeronautical, and I'd go down to the en route SUP, and I'd look for, let's say, I don't know, not Wagga Wagga, let's say I wanted to take off from Burke. I think that's in New South Wales. There it is, New South Wales. Okay, so if I was to take off from Burke, is there a tower at Burke? Well, no, there's no tower at Burke. You can see there's no tower. So what have they got there? Now, why have they got Melbourne Centre, 1, 2, 3, 5 on the ground? Well, that's because if you're an IFR aircraft, you need to get a clearance. And where do you get the clearance from? This guy. And you do it on the ground. So that's that one. That's the first thing. And you know that it's a CTAF. So I need to know my CTAF. So if I need to take off from Burke and I want to go from Burke to wherever, I need to transmit on the CTAF frequency. Okay? And so on. So let's go to, Wagga Wagga. Let's see what I need to know about Wagga Wagga. You know why I'm going to Wagga Wagga, don't you? Because it's got to do, Wagga Wagga is basically responsible for Gladys Berejiklian resigning. You all know that, don't you? Yeah, she got involved with that guy, had an affair, and then gave donations to his electorate. Anyhow, that's another story. We're getting into politics again, guys. Don't get me started. And my rhubarb, whatever tea this is, I don't know why it just doesn't download. Why does it take forever to download? I mean, it used to take about 3 seconds before now. And this change in this PDF. Why is it taking so long? Come on. It just used to lightning quick before. Is it my bandwidth or something? I don't know. Not sure. Come on. Wagga Wagga, Wagga Wagga. Come on, can't be that hard. No, Jack, there isn't. There's been a problem 3.5. 3.5 left and right of the actives. Okay. Okay, so Wagga Wagga doesn't want to. Okay, doesn't want to play ball. What about Warrnambool? But this is basically what you need to look at. A, basically to look at what are the facilities there, and B, what are the actual procedures. Because as you could see with the, I think I'll give that away. As you could see with Moorabbin here, you know, there are a whole heap of procedures you have to do and have to comply with. And you see arrivals. Control zone entry altitude 1,000 feet. So if you're at Carrum at 1,500, which you normally would be, or at Brighton at 1,500, but before you go into the control zone, you've got to go descend into 1,000 because obviously you're going to try to join the circuit. 1,000 is the circuit altitude, so that's why they say 1,000 feet. And it says here, VFA aircraft should track via the reports at Carrum, I should know this, Brighton, Academy, Shoal, and the GMH building. So, and this is another thing, there you go, from runway 17 or 35 news, arriving VFA aircraft from the south should track via and report at Carrum on 123.0, then remain over water until established. Now, of course, with VATSIM and with Me Online, you can't do that. So you've got to understand there's certain things you can't do because Moorabbin Tower on VATSIM has only got one frequency, 118.0. We don't have 123 because Moorabbin Tower doesn't get busy on the VATSIM environment. But in real life, it's a madhouse. And that's why you need two controllers. One guy controls the east, one guy controls the west. Yeah, just use the Melbourneators, Jack. Yeah, it's easier. So that is, my friends, I think I'll wrap it up. Probably a time for you to go to bed, isn't it, Chris? So you guys are, oh my God, 9 o'clock. So I might wrap it up. I've been waffling on for almost 2.5 hours here. I hope we've taken away some sort of knowledge about how to, from not only from an ATC perspective, but also from a pilot perspective, at how to operate within the Class D airspace, especially in the metro environment. Like I said, we used to call these gap airports back in the day, in my days, but with all the introductions of CTAF and all that, and with Dick Smith, and because we basically followed the...
Robin Tower, Golf Tango, sorry to interrupt the stream. Looking for taxi to remain in the circuit area.
Golf Tango X-ray, sorry, say again?
Sorry to interrupt the stream. Just looking for taxi to remain in the circuit area.
Roger, Golf Tango X-ray, you for 3-4 left or right, sir? Or 3-5, sorry. 3-5 left.
We can take either since we're flying in daylight, but 3-5 left is fine.
Yeah, if you can, sir, you can taxi Alpha 4, holding point runway 35 left.
Taxi to Alpha 4, holding point 35 left, Golf Tango X-ray, cheers.
Yeah, so, what was I saying about, yeah, hang on, sorry, I've got an interruption. Sorry about this. Yeah, so, yeah, 2.5 hours. So I think hopefully it's been instructional. I hope it gives you more confidence to operate within Class D, not only as an air traffic controller, but as a pilot as well. And more or less be in tune with real-world operations. Yeah, well, hopefully. And any questions, Jason, if you check out the vids, yeah, I'm not sure if you're an S1 controller or whatever, but yeah, hopefully it's anyone making lengthy CTAF calls. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? I've heard him make some beauties. Anyhow, thanks, guys. I won't keep you any longer. I know for you guys with now with daylight saving, it's getting pretty late over in the East Coast. Jack, sorry, mate. I'm logging off. Sorry about that. But anyhow, clear touch and go or clear the land. 3-5 left. That's all you're going to hear. All right. Till next time, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for your support. And until next time, take care and see you all.